What is going on, Savages? Hope everyone is doing great. I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking and all of that stuff. You guys are probably pretty well aware that I'm a big Ravencoin fan. Love the project, been mining it and following it for almost since its release, but probably more like around March or April of last year. And it's one of my longtime favorite projects, obviously. I have a lot of Raven videos on my channel here, and I've got a playlist over here for Raven, so check that out if you're interested in some other Ravencoin content. I do hold some Raven that I have mined. I don't think, well, Red Panda sent me a little bit of Raven for doing the asset transfer and things like that, creation and transfer. We did some videos on that. Kind of collaborated on that. But as far as donations or any type of sponsorship, there is none, other than just those few little things like that. Some small donations and things like that. So this video is not sponsored in any way. These are just my unaltered thoughts and opinions and things like that on Ravencoin and ASICs. It's basically what we're going to be focusing on today. Raven has been in the crypto news and discussions and forums and things like that lately due to the discovery, the apparent discovery of Ravencoin X16R, not really Ravencoin, let's call them X16R ASICs that are available to the public now, apparently. You can bet that they were being sold, in private before, so, I think some other content producers like Red Panda Mining and Crypto Mikkel, both of them talked about it today. Showed the hash rate and how it increased, in certain months, and how that correlated with the price and all of that stuff. So just keep that in mind. But I wanted to talk. This video is going to be a little bit more on what Ravencoin is, a little bit. And then also why ASICs, why it's a big deal, right? Not so much on the FPGA side, more on the ASIC side. So let's get after it. So if you like content about crypto projects, how to mine crypto, advanced settings and configurations and things like that, emerging projects and other crypto related content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and you can actually just go to my channel here and just click to subscribe over here, and it will take you to this. You click subscribe and then click the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything too important. Also, to stay updated and get notifications on what's going on with the channel, also follow me on Twitter. You can just search for @SavageMine over there, and that should get you up and going. Follow me over there. So let's take a quick look at what I am mining. I always like to show you guys what's going on. My little farm here. I am currently mining Bitcash still on the NVIDIA rig here at the house. And I am also still mining CCX, one of my all-time favorites. Conceal.network on the AMD, and on the co-owned rigs, I am still mining CCX over there, or we are still mining CCX over there. I do have one GPU down. You can see it's 7 of 8 on the Dagobah rig, and that is because the GPU is right here. It needs a fan. So I think in the GPU video, the fan replacement video that I did a little while back, I was talking about this one as well. Now this one's been working. This one's been working with one fan for quite some time. Probably, more than a month. Probably a couple months. And because it's a concealed network and it's a kryptonite algorithm, it never really got too hot. I mean, that one fan was fine for it. So one of the benefits of kryptonite algorithms is they run a lot cooler and stuff. So the GPUs run cooler while mining it. So pretty neat. I kept that one going, and I doubt I'll do a video on it because I already did one. We got through that. I think it took about an hour to actually get the fans replaced on it. But you can check that video out. It goes into detail. Maybe play it at 2x speed or 3x speed or something, you know, just to get the gist of it. So, yep, pretty cool stuff. Since we are talking about Raven tonight, let's talk about what Raven is real quick. I know most people that are watching the video probably already are familiar with what Ravencoin is, but you know, just real quick, a general overview here. It's a purpose-built for asset token creation. It's a purpose-built project for asset token creation, asset or token creation. It's the same thing. They are interchangeable. Assets and tokens are interchangeable on Ravencoin network. And that creation is done at the protocol level, which is super important because there are projects out there that also support asset creation or token creation, but they're, you know, ERC20, right? They're on the Ethereum network and they're not at the protocol level. There are some other benefits of Ravencoin over those other projects, but that is significant. It's, you gotta, if you're going to support Ravencoin, you've got to understand that the token, the asset and token creation is at the protocol level, right? That's an important aspect of Ravencoin, and it sets it apart from all the other projects that are trying to do the same thing. They will eventually have messaging capabilities. This is stuff that's in the roadmap, not necessarily the roadmap, but the plan for the project. Messaging capabilities to be able to send messages to token holders. So you can create an asset, issue that asset to your followers or your investors or whatever, and then you will be able to send messages specifically to those token holders. That's kind of a cool feature. They'll also have a voting system to allow voting by token holders. So back and forth, I think that works in conjunction with messaging. So back and forth, you would be able to allow your token holders to actually vote on certain things, you know, what to do with a project, or what to, you know, let's say it had to do with real estate and you were trying to vote whether or not to improve some property, you know, and all these different token investors or these investors in that property get to vote on whether or not to improve the property in some way, right? So that's just one, you know, real basic use case scenario there. They'll also have dividends to transfer rewards, profits, or dividends to token holders. So the token holders, let's say that you created an asset on the network, you could have, if you had profits from your specific you know, asset or whatever, you know, if it related to a business or a real estate property or whatever, then, and that business or real estate had profits or rewards or whatever, then you could actually issue those on the Ravencoin network to the token holders, and it'll do it, I think it's called pro rata, or prorata. So based on the number of tokens that those investors hold, it will divvy out the appropriate amount, right? So that is coming as well. They also have a unique asset naming system where there are literally no duplicates. So you can't have two names that are the same. And that also sets Ravencoin apart a little bit from other projects, because there's issues with duplicate naming, you know, conventions on ERC20 tokens, like, hey, who owned this first? Who started it first? You know, how are we going to list this on an exchange if it's got the same name? All kinds of problems. So that's another benefit of Ravencoin. You also have the metadata, the ability for assets to use metadata through IPFS, or the Interplanetary File System. So, you know, you're able to link data to a token that is pulled from IPFS. And if you want to check that out a little bit, there's a video that I did on it. It's like an asset use case. I want to say it was the third one, part 3B. I think it's this one right here that I really get into it, where it's really talking about the asset use case and how it applies, you know, or how it uses IPFS. So kind of cool. Check that video out as well if you're interested in that kind of thing. And something that's recent that they're going to do with the project, and pretty neat, because this has to do with the security, you know, like guidelines and regulations and things like that came out. They're also implementing restricted assets and tags, which are enhancements to the asset creation and management features. Really cool stuff. I'm probably going to do, well, I'll get into that in a few minutes. Now some really quick Ravencoin news. They are going to be added to the Edge wallet really soon. I want to say it's already done. Don't know for sure, but Edge wallet is pretty popular, and they're being added to that. Also, T0 is adding Ravencoin to their wallet, and this is significant because there are only two other cryptos that are on the T0 wallet, and that's Ethereum and Bitcoin, and Ravencoin is actually the third one. I mean, it's really no surprise though, because T0 is a subsidiary of Overstock, and then I think Medici Ventures is involved in some way as well. So it's not really too much of a surprise that this would be the third asset added to T0. Still pretty cool though. Good news for Ravencoin. And it's looking like it's possible, and this is something that Tron Black talks about, one of the core devs. It's looking like it's possible that Raven will become the platform for security token use. And he talks about it in this article here, basically becoming the Ethereum of security tokens, which if you think back to the beginning of Ravencoin and what it was built for, it's significant to note that Bruce Fenton, which is involved in Ravencoin, came up with the idea of Ravencoin after a substantial career in the traditional finance sector. So he was also a Bitcoin advocate, and basically if you think of, that's where we got into the restricted assets and the tags and how that applies to what the overall purpose of the Ravencoin network is going to be for, and what the goal is, the end goal. So that's important to note. Pretty good little article here. I think there's, highlighted down here that basically he was saying, if it was, compared to Ethereum, he said that he would argue that for the purposes of an ERC20 token, that Ravencoin is far easier to use. And again, that goes back to it being on the protocol level, right? So it's not a token, it's not something that you have to manage and create in that way, and then there could be duplicates and all that crazy stuff going on. It is at the protocol level, which is super important. And then one of the most significant aspects of the Ravencoin project that's really important whenever you've got regulations and regulators coming down on ICOs and potentially STOs and things like that, all this guidelines that are coming out, it's really important to know as a Ravencoin supporter that it's not a security. And let me let an attorney from Zuber, Lawler, and Del Duca explain it.
Now let's talk about something a little bit further towards what you might think of as a security, and that's a token called Ravencoin. Now Ravencoin is a token that is based off of the Bitcoin blockchain. It's mined, it's proof of work, and what Ravencoin actually is, it is a methodology for the creation of assets that can
So he explained it pretty well. I like that video. It's a good overview of what's going on with Ravencoin and how it is not a security. Gives me a good feeling about the project as far as confiscation of crypto because it was deemed a security or whatever. So just keep that in mind. Good information there. Now, more or less on that same topic, the Raven devs are preparing to implement some important features that are not even in the published roadmap, which I discussed a little bit earlier, or the white paper, that came about due to some concerns and discussions once clearer guidelines from regulators were presented. In this case, we're talking about tags and restricted assets. I'll eventually, most likely, because I like this kind of stuff, I will most likely do a video on these, but it's important to understand that the devs, the reason I bring this up is that the devs were already working on all these features when the ASICs were discovered, or people complained about them enough that they drew enough attention. Basically, the Raven project needed to be updated to support restricted capital markets, which are important for some entities that want to use Raven as their platform, which is kind of what the attorney there was talking about. He even mentioned that, if you've got assets that are riding on the Ravencoin network, then those very well might be securities, depending on, whether or not there was funding for them and how you manage them. So definitely keep that in mind if you plan on doing anything with assets on top of the Ravencoin network. But Ravencoin itself is not a security. All right. Tags and restricted assets are a huge task to tackle. To do that and fight ASICs and FPGAs at the same time has to be tough, but we also have to remember that Raven's original white paper was titled, let's see if I can bring it up here, was titled ASIC Resistant by Design, X16R. There's some level of obligation there, in my opinion, for the community and the devs to agree to maintain that. Just in my opinion. So back in July, and even much earlier, there was some speculation about this. There was that there might be ASICs being built for mining X16R, and ASIC stands for Application-Specific Integrated Circuit. It's just a microprocessing chip designed for a single purpose. ASICs have to be manufactured specifically for an intended task. So they are ordered by ASIC manufacturers in the tens or hundreds of thousands at a time. And they're not cheap to design, develop, and all that stuff. They do one task very efficiently. The research, design, development, testing is very expensive, so manufacturers have to be sure it will be profitable. This is why smaller, less valuable projects, especially those with their own algo, like if you see a small project create their own algo, I kind of like that because that lets me, it gives me a good feeling that I won't have to worry about an ASIC being on the network for a while or it being nice hashed or anything like that. So a small project with its own algo is like, that's a plus for me. Now technically ASICs refers to any microprocessor, even those in GPUs, and a lot of people get this confused. But if you dig deep into the details of your processor on your GPU, you'll find an ASIC ID, right? Because basically any microprocessor is an ASIC, is the simple way to look at it. It's just that for the sake of this video and discussion, let's just say that the term ASIC refers to a single purpose device manufactured to mine a single specific algorithm. And remember that an ASIC could be created for any algorithm. That's another thing. I mean, we've seen this now. Obviously, there's been technology advances. Originally X16R was like, wow, there's no way that that you could create an ASIC for it because of how it works. It's 16 different algorithms. It's random, all this stuff. But what you have seen is, okay, now look at the market cap of this Ravencoin X16R, coin, and how much can we mine per day with an ASIC if we design it, right? So all this comes into play. It's not that ASIC manufacturers are like, yeah, I think we'll do this today. You know, they have to plan this stuff out. It's all about money. It's all about making money. It's not because they just want to be cool and mine Ravencoin, right, with an ASIC. That's not what it's about. Once they hit that mark where they can mine a certain amount, and that certain amount is pretty much guaranteed to get them a certain amount of Raven each day, and they feel confident that the price isn't going to drop below a certain amount, then that's whenever they go for it. And that's basically what you've seen, you know. So I'm talking in this video, I'm talking more about the ASIC threat. And if you want to learn more about the FPGA, the Field Programmable Gate Array threat to x16R, Crypto Mikkel did a good video on it today. I believe it was today. I think he let it. Yeah, it was today, earlier today. So check that out on his channel, Crypto Mikkel. And he talks about FPGAs. He did some research clearly on it. He's got an FPGA. I don't have any, so it's a little bit easier for him to explain it. So check out his channel if you're interested in that. And also, I would like to point out though, I mean, the BCU 1525s are still pretty expensive from what I understand. And you could, I mean, they talk about it on here. I'll just let you look at his video. But as far as how the cost and what you would earn, yeah, would it be cool to mine with FPGAs? Maybe, I don't know. You know, the cost of that compared to a rig that would mine the same, I don't know. I haven't ran all the numbers, but it would seem, you know, nothing's free, guys, you know, and there's not something out there that just completely blows away, you know, GPUs at this point. Once you compare, you know, that initial cost and then what you're planning to earn and all that stuff, once you calculate everything, I think that everything right now is still pretty close, right? As far as like, okay, I'm going to invest this much. This is my expected return. This is how much I'm going to mine each day. And GPUs, because they're so versatile, they're right in the middle. I don't know. You know, you guys know I'm a GPU miner for the most part. So. Yeah, and if you want to, Red Panda Mining also did a really good video on this particular topic today. I'm the third person, I guess, to do this topic today, which is kind of cool. You know, great minds think alike, I guess. So he did a video on x16R v2 and why Ravencoin is moving to that, and it talks about the video talks about the FPGAs, it talks about ASICs. So this is another really good video, and he also has this really cool shot of Matt from the technicals, and I thought it was so cool that he stopped it right there on that particular screen. So I'll leave that up for a minute as well, just to give Matt some crap. So what is so bad about ASICs anyway? So in the original white paper, like we were talking about earlier, it says right here, ASIC resistant by design. So I think that, you know, they really need to focus on that and stay away from ASICs. I think it's a core thing, you know, with the project. So I think it's important. I don't know. That's just me. But the original purpose, and another bad thing about ASICs is the original purpose of crypto is decentralization, right? And ASICs tend to centralize hardware and the hash power. Actually, Red Panda also showed this in his video, where there is centralization of hash power on the mining pools. So this F2 pool here is in China, and right now there is 50.4% of the total hash rate, the 10 terahash, that is unknown. Now, usually this means a significant thing is happening. It doesn't mean an attack or anything like that. It could, but what it typically means is that these pools aren't registered, so it's like a private pool, or it's a device that is not registering with this as a pool, right? And so that's a huge amount. 50% is unknown, and just to compare, like if you go to a different coin, like I just clicked on the very next x16R, which is Veil, and or RT, and there's 0, right? There's no unknown, right? And then you go to Gencoin. I haven't been through all these, but yeah, 0. So you let's go to another kind of popular one, Gravium. See, there's some unknown blocks, but there's not any unknown hash rate. But if you go to Ravencoin, 50% is unknown. So I think Red Panda's pretty on target here. I think that once the fork happens and x16R v2 is implemented, there's a good chance that this is going to go, your overall hash rate is going to go down significantly, probably by 50%. I don't know, maybe not 50%, maybe 40 or 30 or somewhere around there. So you might see it go from 10 to 6 or 7. You know, I don't know. We might, you know, honestly, we might be surprised, and it might go down even more than that. I don't know. I'm anxious to see what happens. I'm probably going to be watching it, you know, on the edge of my seat to see what happens whenever the fork happens. But another drawback to ASICs is the centralization of manufacturers also, because we've seen this before. You know, manufacturing of ASICs is centralized largely in China. Most of them are created there. So you get this situation where all the hardware is there, all the hash rate is there, the pools are there, and that's just not a good look for crypto, especially whenever the core tenet of crypto is to be decentralized. And it's really important to note that once an algorithm has been ASIC'd, you have little chance of getting the coin back on CPU or GPUs without a hard fork. And hard forks, the problem is that hard forks can be disastrous to the project due to things like community rebellion, community misunderstanding. Not everyone in the community will agree on the way ahead. We've seen this with other projects where it ends up with a hard fork and multiple versions of the same coin. You know, we've seen that with other projects. So, or not the same coin. You understand what I mean? It's you know, where they've taken over the original coin and continued on, or you know, whatever. So, yeah, it's just not good. If you can not fork is probably the best thing. But hey, whenever you know this type of hardware shows up on your network, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Let's see. Some other things that are really important that people kind of overlook with ASICs is, let me get on something decent here. I totally didn't mean to click that. ASICs actually mine against you, right? So if you're an ASIC manufacturer, and we've seen this before with Bitcoin, we've seen them with the BTC miners, the ASICs. You know, if they're producing this hardware, you know, they're going to look at it from a financial standpoint. So they're going to say, okay, we can stand up this farm, we can produce 1,000 ASIC miners a month or whatever. I don't know the numbers, but whatever it is. And for that first 2 months, it would be better, and we would probably make more profit for our shareholders. You got to keep all this stuff in mind with how these, you know, they're not hobby miners. You know, they're bottom line. You know, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for profit. They have investors and all those types of things that come into play. So they're telling, you know, they're analyzing everything, and they're saying, okay, so we can produce 1,000 ASIC miners. We can stand them up in our farm. We can mine with them and we have definitely seen this, or at least it was rumored with BTC miners in the past, or ASICs in the past, where they actually were shipping used equipment, right? We've all heard about that. I think that they still do. I think that they just got better at cleaning them up, or they got better at maybe, what's the word? Refurb, right? So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I mean, it seems like they could easily switch some wire, you know, the cables, power cables, and make it look all pretty. I see people all the time, but look, they're smart. They know how to clean it to make it look like it's brand new. You know, spray a little bit of oil on it. I'm not saying that they're doing that, but it seems like, you know, that would be something that they would do, because they're under no obligation to us as a country, you know, shipping the stuff to us to actually ship us brand new stuff, right? So just keep that in mind whenever you're looking at ASICs. But so the company's going to look at it and go, okay, I can mine with them for a month or 2 months, still ship them out, or you know, I can mine with them for more likely, so that they don't get a lot of backlash, they're probably just producing enough to mine with and then not selling to the public, right? So that's something else that they'll do. They'll build a farm out. They'll have thousands of ASIC miners mining, and then they won't sell those miners or any miner to the public until profitability gets low enough to where it makes sense for them to just sell it instead of mine with it, right? Another thing that's really bad about ASIC companies, for the most part, is the warranty and the support sucks. I mean, I looked pretty. I don't own an ASIC, but I have looked into it, and all the forums and everything that I read about them are awful. Like the warranties, support sucks. I mean, think about it. You send an ASIC back. Not only that, but there's all these charges for shipping, and you know they'll advertise an ASIC for $1,000, but by the time you actually get it, it's costing you $2,500, right? Because of all the fees and everything else that goes along with it, customs and all that stuff. Anyway, so then what if you have a problem with it and you have to send it back for warranty? Well, you know, if you know about ASICs, typically, for the most part, if the hash rate of whatever that network is that you have an ASIC for is going up, then the life of that ASIC is going to be short if that hash rate keeps increasing. So if the profitability and the progress of the project, whatever it is, whether it's X16R or SHA-256 for Bitcoin, you know, whatever it is, if that hash rate is going up, then that ASIC is going to get less profitable over time. So if you have to send it off for warranty, then you're going to be losing money. And if it takes 2 or 3 months to get it back, then you're probably going to get back a paperweight. I mean, because you're probably only going to get 2 or 3 months out of it anyway, and hope to break even on it. And I don't know. That's just my opinion there. Also, there is, you know, the companies really have no incentive to sell you the latest and greatest. They're in a business that if they look at an ASIC that they've created, like I said earlier, if they can make more money by using it and putting it online, then they're going to do that and then wait for the profitability to get low enough to actually sell to the public. They also seem to have, like, ASIC companies seem to have no honor or loyalty to customers, just from what I've read and seen. And another really bad thing that we've seen lately is ASIC farms or large ASIC farm, I guess you could call them farms, whatever. Typically they don't hold the coins that they're mining, and typically they have to dump them on the market. So what you're seeing is you see ASICs mining a coin, a lot of whatever it is, whether it's Bitcoin or Ravencoin or whatever, and because they have to pay overhead or because they have to pay off the loan that they took to actually buy the ASICs and get them manufactured, all these things come into play, then they have to dump it on the market. I mean, some of them might be selling an OTC depending on how much they actually acquire. And there are some companies that do this a little bit different, and I think earlier in the year there were some, whenever we saw that big increase in Bitcoin, we saw some companies say that they are now holding because they have cashed in and dumped enough to actually last for several quarters of overhead, employees and rent and electric and all that stuff. So they were actually holding it. So this isn't like across the board 100% nonstop every time, but just keep in mind that most ASIC environments have to pay their bills. They have to pay bills, so they have to dump the coins that they mine on the market, which is dumping it on the heads of all the investors, right? I mean, it is a business, so that's the way it works. And another thing that's important about ASICs is it's inherently tied to the price of the coin. So you'll see an ASIC that is profitable, go up in price because the coin is going up in price. It's kind of a supply and demand thing, but I think there's a little bit more to it behind the scenes. And another thing, ASICs have to keep getting faster and more efficient to continue to be competitive, like I was talking about earlier with the hash rate and all that stuff. Now, could an ASIC company start up, like a new company that's honest and reliable? Maybe, but it's not likely, given the scenarios and given the, basically what an ASIC is all about, the centralization stuff. Could there be enough competition among several manufacturers to allow the prices to fall to matter? Not likely. I don't know. Maybe over a long period of time, something like that could happen. And we shouldn't forget that in the Bitcoin white paper, there was actually it states in there that they being Satoshi, wanted CPUs only. It was the exact phrase was, proof of work is essentially one CPU, one vote. So he also had a problem, Satoshi also had a problem with, because there were discussions where he was worried when devs started creating BTC mining software for GPUs. And this was what he said. I believe this was on a Bitcoin Talk thread or some other forum. But he said we should have a gentleman's agreement. This is funny to see this now, thinking back and knowing that at one time you could mine Bitcoin on GPUs and CPUs. Actually, you were mining it on CPUs and GPUs were just coming online, right? So he said we should have a gentleman's agreement to postpone the GPU arms race as long as we can for the good of the network. It's much easier to get new users up to speed. So he was all about adoption, right? If they don't have to worry about GPU drivers and compatibility, funny that we still have to worry about those kind of things today. It's nice anyway. It's nice how anyone with just a CPU can compete fairly equally right now. And that goes back to his statement in the Bitcoin white paper. Proof of work is essentially one CPU, one vote. Problem is, we'll never get that back with Bitcoin, right? And like I said earlier, if you allow ASICs on your network, you'll never recover. You'll never get that back. You'll have to fork. You'll have to change so much, and then there's such a risk there because, like I said earlier, you're going to have people that don't agree, and then you run the risk of some really bad stuff happening. So the end result of all of this whole discussion and everything here, there was, if you follow Raven Wales on Twitter, you might have seen what I saw. You might have noticed what many other people have seen over, I think this started back in July. I want to say it was early July whenever Raven Wales started. And basically all it is it uses a bot that monitors the Ravencoin network and lets you know whenever there are large amounts, moving large amounts of Raven moving around. And let me show you this here. There were lots of transfers, a million. Actually, let me go back over here. If you scroll down through here, you can see all these transfers, millions, 3.6 million Raven, which unfortunately is only $130,000. Sounds like a lot. Being transferred from unknown to unknown. I believe that some people have determined some of these addresses to be Binance personal accounts or accounts on Binance. And I think that is actually shown over here on the other website that I was going to go to, but I just want to kind of scroll down through here so you can kind of see what's going on here. These are huge transfers. I mean, 3 million a day is quite a lot for one person or one entity, right? So this address here, this is a block explorer. So this is the address that they're talking about with a lot of Raven going to this address, and you can see that they are apparently winning these blocks. Now I don't know if that means it's like a pool. I don't think that that's what it is. It doesn't seem like that, but this is a significant amount of Raven going to this one address. Yeah, that's a huge amount. Yeah, wow. And out, actually. Yeah, it's going in and out of that address. So I think that this must be related to the pool or something here for it to be that much going out. And the evidence from Raven Wales is also in this article over here. There is there's a tool that was developed to scan for Coinbase transactions. Coinbase transactions meaning the miner addresses are addresses of freshly created crypto, right? It's not like being sent from one user to another. It's actually generated through mining rewards. That's where a Coinbase transaction comes in. The data showed what addresses were mining to what pool. And this is showing those $3 million transfers that are constant. It's almost nightly, I think, that this happens. And talking about the transactions here. So they developed this tool. I believe, I can't remember his name now. Hang on. Let me give him credit here. He wrote the article, but I think that I want to say that the tool was actually developed by somebody else, but I'll try to figure it out. But basically what he was saying here is the hash rate increased from 4 terahash to 12 terahash to over 12 terahash in basically just a month, from March to April, which was odd, right? I mean, that is a huge increase in a short amount of time, and I can't imagine that there were 112,000 GPUs added to the Ravencoin network during that time, right? It was basically this one unknown entity, this one pool. It's unknown pool A, which is that address that we were talking about earlier with the 5,000 Raven going into it. It was mining about 3.25 million Raven a day. That's a lot. You should also remember that since Raven is supposed to be ASIC resistant, that anyone using ASICs would be inclined to stay hidden and mine to a private or hidden pool, which is basically what we're seeing here, unknown pool A. And then if you relate this back to this right here, the 50% unknown, then it kind of starts making sense, and this paints a picture that is hard to deny, in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, and I could be looking at this data the wrong way, but I mean, it kind of makes sense if you look at it, on the surface. It does make sense, and if all this data is correct, and I believe it is. I mean, if you look at the actual hash rate of what has happened to the Ravencoin network, I believe this little cycling back here was due to the nice hash situation, I believe, where it was something, I don't know if it had to do with the algo itself or what. I can't remember what all happened back here, but I know this kind of stands out and it's kind of weird, but what we're really focusing on is this area right here and this area right here. So I can't, that's a huge increase. I don't think that 112,000 GPUs came online in a month. It just looks like something different. All right. And something that's really significant to remember about this whole thing, forking and all this stuff, is that soft forks and hidden, concerning the hard or soft forks and hidden pools, you got to remember that the way that Ravencoin works, because it's a community project, they are basically going to use what's called BIP9 voting, or they can use it. BIP9 voting is a Bitcoin improvement proposal, and basically it allows nodes to determine what goes on in the network. It's kind of like a way of voting. And if you have someone or some entity that has this much hash rate, okay, of the overall pool or the overall network hash rate, then it's not likely that they're going to vote with their hash power on voting themselves off the network, right? So now you get in a situation where you have a hard fork. I guess you could call it a contentious hard fork because it's going against the voting and things like that. So this could get kind of crazy. I think that with the devs that they have on Ravencoin, I think that we're going to be fine. I don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal. Hopefully not. But just keep that in mind, because these, whoever owns that 50% or 40% of the hash rate probably is not going to vote with their hash power on, upgrading their node to the new core, to basically vote themselves off the network. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's, shooting themselves in the foot, basically. So where do we go from here? What is Ravencoin going to do? After the community and the devs debating and discussing in Discord and other forums, it appears, without getting too technical, it appears that a solution has been decided, and Red Panda and Crypto Mikhail talked about this earlier, that'll be implemented on Tuesday, October 1st at around 1600 UTC, and I believe that would be 1200 Eastern time, if I'm not mistaken. The solution will be a new algorithm that they're going to add to the 16, and it's called Tiger, and they're going to put it in 3 different places. They're going to put it before the Lufa, the Kesak, and the SHA-512. I don't know, this was something that I think, I want to say that Red Panda was talking about this in his video, where, I don't know if it's going to be added or if it's somehow going to replace other algorithms in there for that specific cycle. I don't know how that's going to work, because he's right. Like, if there's more than 16 algorithms, then shouldn't it have a different name, like not X16, right? It would be X19 or something like that, right? I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But for now, it's called X16R version 2. Now, as far as the bottom line, what every Raven miner should know, the latest wallet or node software available right now is 2.4.0. That's what the current network is at. The fork will be going to core version 2.5.0, which will be released sometime fairly soon, I think in the next couple weeks. And there are already, obviously, Ravencoin is super popular, guys. I don't think that we have too much to worry about as far as miner availability and things like that, driver availability. I think we're going to be okay. If you look at the number of miners, it's 17,000, and this is addresses. This isn't hardware. 17,000 different addresses. That's a significant amount. So I don't think that miner developers and things like that are going to sit around and wait. They're probably already working with Ravencoin developers so that they get the details of how to create a miner for that. And I believe that CC Miner, Minermore, and T-Rex are already working on it. I believe Crypto Mikhail actually mentioned another one that is already implementing X16R version 2. And I can't believe that I've gone this long. I haven't even looked at the chat. I could be talking to nobody over here. What up? What is going on, Red Panda? What's going on, man? 8 people in here watching. Yeah, it's weird. I noticed that too, Red Panda. It went down. Whenever I checked earlier today, I think it was at 52%, and now it's at 37%. Obviously some fluctuation is normal, but wow. I don't know. Let me see see if I missed anything good. What's up, boss? What's up, Bitcoin Jake? Did I say ASIC wrong? Application specific integrated circuit. Did I not say that right, Bitcoin Jake? Oh, so the playback video was low? Yeah, I think y'all said that last time. Let me do a test real quick. Let me play. Let me back up a little bit here, and y'all give me a thumbs up whenever it's Give me a thumbs up whenever it's about right. All right, I kind of think that right there was probably going to be good, right? No, Red Panda, man, dude, I love your video. That was awesome. That was really good information too. Yeah, and I actually I actually tweeted about this because it kind of upset me. I was working on my content, I was like just getting some details and stuff like that around, and then I saw, where's my video here, or where's my post? It's probably gonna be way down here. Yeah, probably before that. Okay, I don't know where it's at, but anyway, yeah, I saw the video. what time was it? It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, I think, whenever I saw the first video. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm late. You know, I felt like I was going to be late to everything. But it's cool that we all kind of had the same idea, you know, about making a video about the Ravencoin fork and the upgrade and all that stuff, because it's important. I mean, a lot of us definitely, you know, mine Raven, or we have over the years, you know. So yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, here we go. Like, yeah, whenever you have Ravencoin hard fork video content ready and you see several other YouTubers that's already done it and already posted. I was so sad. I was like, man, they got me. All right, well, that is 51 minutes of Ravencoin. I think I'm going to get out of here. Thanks, everyone, to watching. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. This has been pretty fun. I like talking about Ravencoin. You guys know I like that project a whole lot. So, yeah, check out my other videos. Make sure you like this one. Make sure you share it and all that stuff. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You know, follow me on Twitter. You know, all those things. I appreciate that comment there, Red Panda. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow night. I don't know. Honestly, I've been kind of having like a little bit of a, you wouldn't call it a writer's block, a content creator's block, a little bit. And I think that's what hit me like double hard today, because I was planning on doing this ASIC threat video for Ravencoin, and then I saw that other people were already doing it, so I was like, shoot. I think that, I don't know, I did that whole week of Rio, and that kind of really drained me. That was a lot of, you know, it was a lot of research and figuring stuff out. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a poll. Those are always easy. I'll pick 3 projects and we'll just mine one of them. I'll do a poll on Twitter, and I'll pick 3 kind of similar projects, not similar, similar market cap wise, not features or fundamentals wise, and maybe I'll do that for tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know. I'll come up with something. I will see you guys tomorrow night. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Stay savage as always.